Picture this: you're walking through a shopping mall, casually browsing store windows. Around you, people are laughing, talking, sipping coffee. Parents push strollers. Friends share jokes. It feels ordinary, even comforting. But what if I told you that among them, perhaps brushing shoulders with you, is someone who views all of this as a game? A predator hiding in plain sight, who sees your emotions not as shared human experiences, but as tools to be used against you. This isn't fiction. It's not a metaphor. It's the world we live in. Psychopaths are real. They are not just the monsters of crime documentaries or the villains of psychological thrillers. They walk among us, unseen, unnoticed, but not harmless. As Canadian researcher Stefan Verstappen put it, psychopaths are predators that have evolved to blend in with the herd. And according to renowned psychologist Dr. Robert Hare, the leading expert in the field, you meet a psychopath every day. That's not hyperbole, it's a statistical reality. Research suggests that approximately 1% of the general population qualifies as psychopathic. In some environments, such as corporate leadership or high-risk professions, that number may climb closer to 4%. That means for every 100 people you know, 1 to 4 of them may lack empathy, remorse, or a conscience entirely. They're not always criminals, but they're always dangerous. This is not just an academic conversation. It's a matter of survival. To understand psychopathy is to reclaim power over our own lives. To recognize manipulation before it strikes. To stop mistaking charm for kindness. This is not about fear, it's about awareness. This exploration aims to uncover the truths that society often ignores, and to equip you with the insight to see what most never will. Welcome to a journey through the hidden layers of human psychology, one that might forever change the way you see the world. The word psychopath tends to conjure up a very specific image. We think of dead-eyed serial killers, frenzied murder scenes, and headlines screaming names like Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, or Jeffrey Dahmer. Hollywood has done its part in painting these figures in blood-soaked drama, transforming real human horrors into almost mythic monsters. From American Psycho to Silence of the Lambs, we're conditioned to associate psychopathy with overt, grotesque violence. But this image is not only misleading, it's dangerously narrow. The truth is, most psychopaths are not killers. They don't lurk in dark alleys with knives. Instead, they sit in office chairs, wear crisp suits, and give charming speeches. They are subtle predators, masters of emotional warfare, not physical brutality. They inflict wounds you can't see. Their weapons are lies, manipulation, gaslighting, and control. Martha Stout, a clinical psychologist and author of The Sociopath Next Door, brings this chilling reality into focus. There are real-life psychopaths, and they are everywhere. They are not rare. They are not easy to spot. They live and work among us. Her research reveals that many psychopaths live entirely outside the criminal justice system. They have families, careers, and social circles. They appear normal, sometimes even admirable. But beneath that surface is a total absence of conscience. These individuals destroy reputations, sabotage relationships, and erode mental health with calculated precision. They don't feel guilt when they lie to you, or pleasure when you're happy. To them, people are pawns, and life is a game of control. Understanding psychopathy begins with unlearning what popular culture has taught us. It's not about blood or body counts, it's about the manipulation of trust, the corrosion of love, and the exploitation of empathy. In the real world, the most dangerous psychopath might not be the one on the news. It might be the one who smiles at you across the dinner table. Most people live with a quiet but powerful inner voice, a conscience. It's that tug in the chest when we hurt someone, the sting of regret after a lie, or the warmth of connection when we act in kindness. For the average person, empathy is not just a feeling, it's a guide. It helps shape our morals, our relationships, and even our identity. We care because we feel. We stop ourselves from doing harm because we imagine the pain of others. But for the psychopath, this inner world is a hollow echo. Robert Hare, who developed the psychopathy checklist used worldwide in forensic settings, describes it plainly: they don't have a conscience. They can lie, cheat, steal without any guilt. There is no moral compass pointing north, just calculations and outcomes. Guilt is not a deterrent, it's a foreign concept. Martha Stout adds another chilling layer to this: psychopaths often react to tragedy or suffering with confusion, or even amusement. She recalls a story of a young man whose dog was struck by a car. While others were distraught, this man remained eerily calm, even fascinated. He asked peculiar questions about the impact, the sounds, the physics of it all. Not out of trauma, but curiosity, like observing a science experiment rather than the death of a beloved pet. Psychopaths cannot love in the way others do. They may mimic affection, perform romance, and speak the language of intimacy. But underneath, there is a disconnect. Emotional experiences that bind the rest of us, grief, joy, fear, compassion, are absent or severely blunted in them. When you cry, they watch. When you beg, they calculate. When you trust, they prepare to take. This emotional deficit is not a flaw, they see it as a strength. Because they are unburdened by conscience, they can manipulate without hesitation, exploit without remorse, and betray without blinking. It's not just that they lack empathy. It's that they recognize yours, and use it against you. This void, this absence of emotional truth, is what makes them so dangerous. We assume others feel what we feel. Psychopaths exploit that assumption like a magician exploits misdirection. And by the time we realize it, the damage is already done. If you strip away love, guilt, empathy, and fear, what remains? What motivates a person who feels nothing but contempt for emotional connection? The answer is power. For psychopaths, power is more than a desire, it's a drug. It is the one thing that gives them a sensation close to pleasure, the one force that fills the emotional vacuum. Dominance over others is not just satisfying, it is essential. It's how they feel alive. While many psychopaths engage in risky behaviors, heavy drinking, sexual promiscuity, reckless driving, or gambling, it's not the thrill of danger itself they seek. It's the high of being in control. Control of the room, the relationship, the narrative. Whether in a boardroom or a bedroom, the game is always the same: who holds the reins? One striking case is that of Earl, profiled in forensic research. Earl was highly intelligent, charismatic, and socially polished. He built trust quickly, wore success like a tailored suit, and could win over a room with ease. But behind closed doors, his need for control became obsessive. He micromanaged his partners' lives, turned colleagues against each other, and manipulated every social dynamic to remain on top. For Earl, life wasn't about connection, it was a contest. And he had to win. This lust for control can manifest anywhere. In relationships, they slowly isolate their partners, distort their self-worth, and tighten emotional leashes. In the workplace, they climb corporate ladders not through talent but through sabotage, deceit, and charm. In politics, they say whatever it takes to gather influence, not to lead, but to rule. Even their addictions are often extensions of control. They may use sex to dominate, drugs to blunt any residual discomfort, or alcohol to intensify their aggression. But power remains the core stimulant. It is their currency, their compass, their craving. And unlike people driven by love, purpose, or growth, psychopaths cannot be satisfied. There is no limit to their hunger. Give them a little control, and they will take everything. Then blame you for giving it. It would be comforting to imagine that psychopaths see their condition as a flaw, something broken within them, something missing that they wish they had. But the reality is far more unsettling. Many psychopaths not only reject the idea that they are disordered, they believe they are superior because of it. To them, guilt is weakness. Empathy is a flaw. Emotional attachment is a vulnerability they are proud to lack. Their worldview is often shaped by a belief in social Darwinism, the idea that life is a game of dominance and survival, where those who hesitate, empathize, or love are at the bottom of the food chain. Ted Bundy, one of the most infamous psychopaths in history, once remarked, "Guilt? It's this mechanism we use to control people. It's an illusion. It's a kind of social control mechanism, and it's very unhealthy." To Bundy, the absence of guilt wasn't a defect, it was freedom. A license to act without consequence, bound by nothing but his own desires. This internal narrative, that their lack of conscience makes them evolved rather than impaired, creates an enormous barrier to change. Why would someone seek help for what they see as their greatest strength? This is why traditional therapy almost always fails with psychopaths. Dr. Robert Hare has studied this extensively. He warns that therapy often makes psychopaths better at manipulation. They learn the language of emotion, the cues of remorse, the script of empathy, only to weaponize it. They can say anything, do anything, Hare says. They will tell you what you want to hear, and they will do so convincingly. But it means nothing to them. Therapists who work with psychopaths describe sessions where progress seems miraculous, confessions, tears, promises of change, only to discover later that the entire process was a con. A performance. A rehearsal for fooling the next person in their life. There is no motivation to change when you believe you're already winning. No desire to grow when you think you're already superior. This belief system doesn't just make psychopaths immune to treatment, it makes them more dangerous. Because every failed intervention only sharpens their act. In 1941, psychiatrist Hervey Cleckley published The Mask of Sanity, a groundbreaking study of psychopathy that would change the field forever. In it, he described something that still haunts forensic psychologists to this day, the ability of psychopaths to appear completely, even exceptionally, normal. This is not just mimicry, it is camouflage. Evolutionary in its brilliance, terrifying in its effectiveness. Cleckley observed that psychopaths often exhibited no obvious signs of disorder. They were articulate, intelligent, poised. They could mimic warmth, display confidence, and engage socially with ease. But it was all a performance, an emotional ventriloquism act with no real voice behind it. Think of a spider that mimics an ant. It moves like an ant, looks like an ant, even behaves like one. But it is not an ant. It is a predator, using its disguise to infiltrate and devour. Psychopaths are no different. Their charm, humor, and composure are not reflections of a healthy psyche, they are bait. What makes this mask so effective is the psychopath's unique relationship with anxiety. Or rather, the lack of it. Most people experience stress in high-pressure situations, job interviews, first dates, conflicts. Psychopaths, by contrast, remain unervingly calm. Their emotional detachment gives them an edge. They are cool under pressure, unshaken by consequence, and able to manipulate without the burden of conscience. In fact, many people find this calmness appealing. It reads as confidence, strength, leadership. And that is precisely the danger. While others falter under scrutiny, the psychopath shines. While others wrestle with doubt, they remain calculated and composed. This ability to mask their true nature allows them to embed themselves seamlessly into society. They pass as mentors, lovers, leaders. But beneath the surface is a void, a hollow space where emotion should live, filled instead with strategy, mimicry, and desire for control. The mask isn't just a feature of their personality, it is their personality. And once it slips, the damage is often already done. Imagine meeting someone who seems to understand you instantly. They laugh at your jokes, share stories that mirror your own, and seem to intuit your thoughts before you even speak them. It's intoxicating, the feeling of being truly seen. And that's exactly how they want you to feel. Psychopaths are masters of manipulation, and their greatest weapon is charm. But not the harmless kind. Their charm is strategic, surgical in its precision. It's not meant to make you feel good, it's meant to lower your defenses. To disarm you. To make you trust. Victims often describe their first encounters with a psychopath as magnetic. They feel pulled in, captivated by the person's energy, charisma, and attentiveness. These individuals seem too good to be true, and that's the first red flag. Because they are. Psychopaths use charm the way predators use camouflage. It allows them to get close. But once trust is gained, the real manipulation begins. They isolate you emotionally, subtly undermining your sense of reality. They use gaslighting, deny your perceptions, shift blame, and distort the truth until you question your own memory. Their speech often reveals cracks, if you know what to look for. In conversation, they may overtalk, interrupt, or derail the topic into irrelevant directions. Their stories can be inconsistent, their reactions strangely disconnected. When challenged, they might become incoherent or aggressive. Their language is often riddled with grandiosity, and their need to control the narrative is relentless. There are physical cues, too. Over-exaggerated hand gestures meant to mimic enthusiasm. Performative emotional outbursts that feel just a little too rehearsed. It's all designed to convince you that they feel what you feel, while they're watching your reaction more than feeling their own. Over time, their mask slips. The flattery turns to control. The warmth becomes conditional. And you realize too late that the person you trusted wasn't real. Just a character in a story they wrote to play the lead role in your life, for as long as they needed something from you. There is a recurring theme in survivor testimonies that psychology textbooks alone can't capture. It isn't always about what a psychopath says or does, it's something far more primal. The stare. Many who've encountered psychopaths describe a particular kind of eye contact, cold, fixed, predatory. Not angry. Not passionate. Just empty. It's often referred to as the reptilian gaze, and for good reason. It bypasses logic and hits something deeper, something instinctual. Victims report feeling unnerved, even frozen, when locked in that gaze. It's not the kind of look you get from someone feeling a strong emotion. It's the opposite. It's the absence of emotion. A pure, unblinking observation. Not of you as a person, but of you as prey. This stare often emerges in moments when the psychopath is in control, during manipulation, during confrontation, during the exact moment you realize something is wrong. It's like the curtain is briefly pulled back, and for a second, you see what was always hiding behind the charm. In folklore and mythology, eyes are said to be windows to the soul. But what happens when there is no soul behind them? Just calculation. Just hunger. Just silence. Psychologist Reid Malloy refers to this stare as the predatory gaze, a look not of rage or love, but of targeting. A lion watching a gazelle. A chess player planning a checkmate. It's not violent in appearance, but in its complete detachment. And it's unforgettable. The eyes don't lie, we say. But with psychopaths, the eyes don't speak at all. They watch. They wait. And by the time you notice their silence, they've already seen everything they needed to take. Where do psychopaths come from? What shapes a person into someone who lacks remorse, empathy, and conscience? Is it trauma? A broken home? A brutal upbringing? These are common assumptions, but the truth, as modern neuroscience reveals, is more complex, and more unsettling. For decades, the nature versus nurture debate raged in psychology. Could psychopathy be caused by a violent childhood? Was it a coping mechanism gone wrong? While early experiences may influence behavior, the growing body of evidence points decisively toward biology. Psychopathy, it turns out, is largely hardwired. Brain scans have revealed structural and functional abnormalities in the brains of psychopaths, particularly in the amygdala, the region that processes emotions such as fear, empathy, and guilt, and the prefrontal cortex, which governs decision-making and impulse control. In many psychopaths, these areas are underdeveloped or underactive. Simply put, the emotional software most people run on is either corrupted or missing altogether. Genetic studies support this as well. Psychopathic traits, such as callousness, manipulativeness, and low anxiety, show high heritability. In twin studies, these traits often persist even when children are raised in vastly different environments. That's not to say environment plays no role. Childhood abuse, neglect, or exposure to violence can amplify antisocial behavior. But trauma alone doesn't create a psychopath. Many people endure horrific circumstances and grow to become deeply empathetic. What distinguishes the psychopath is not what happened to them, but what was already absent within them from the start. This is perhaps the most chilling realization, that some people are born biologically incapable of forming emotional bonds. No amount of love, education, or therapy can install a conscience where there was never one to begin with. They are, in a very real sense, emotional aliens, wired differently, and often irreversibly. If psychopaths are drawn to control, and are unburdened by empathy, guilt, or conscience, what happens when they ascend to positions of power? The answer is not theoretical. It's historical. From corporate boardrooms to political regimes, from cult leaders to warlords, the pattern is clear: power attracts psychopaths. And power also protects them. In hierarchical systems, especially those that concentrate control at the top, individuals with psychopathic traits can rise rapidly. Their charm helps them ascend. Their ruthlessness keeps them there. Psychologist Paul Babiek, who co-authored Snakes in Suits with Robert Hare, studied corporate psychopaths extensively. He found that many excel in competitive environments not because they are qualified, but because they manipulate others, take credit for others' work, and charm their way past scrutiny. Meanwhile, their victims are often left disoriented, discredited, and discarded. But the consequences grow darker when these individuals reach political power. Andrzej Lobakowski, a Polish psychiatrist who lived through the horrors of totalitarianism, coined the term pathocracy, a system of government in which the worst elements of society, particularly psychopaths, dominate and corrupt all levels of power. In a pathocracy, truth is irrelevant. Morality is inverted. Loyalty is demanded, not earned. Compassion is weakness, and cruelty is efficiency. In such systems, the values of psychopaths become embedded in the institutions themselves. Deceit, manipulation, suppression, they are no longer strategies, they are policies. The damage is systemic, and often irreversible. History offers examples too numerous to count. Dictators who orchestrated mass suffering without flinching. Leaders who viewed lives as numbers, empathy as a liability. The modern world is not immune either. In politics, business, and media, those without conscience can, and do, reshape reality to serve their own ends. This isn't alarmism. It's a warning. When power is centralized without accountability, the most ruthless rise. Not because they are the most capable, but because they are the least constrained. And by the time we realize it, the cost is measured not just in dollars or votes, but in trust, in truth, and in human lives. So what do we do with this knowledge? We cannot change the existence of psychopaths. They are a part of the human condition, rare, but persistent. What we can change is how we respond to them. The first and most powerful defense is awareness. Not fear. Not paranoia. But clarity. Psychopaths thrive in ignorance. They depend on our assumption that others feel as we do. That a warm smile signals friendship. That a romantic partner loves like we love. That a leader with confidence must have integrity. These are the illusions they craft, and the myths we too often believe. To see through the mask is to reclaim your power. It means recognizing manipulation early, before the damage is done. It means trusting your instincts when something feels off, even if the surface seems perfect. It means understanding that charm is not the same as character. That composure is not the same as conscience. Robert Hare once said, "Not all psychopaths are in prison. Some are in the boardroom. Some are in the classroom. Some are in your life. The most dangerous ones aren't the ones who make the news. They're the ones who never get caught, because we never saw them coming. But now you do." This isn't about hate. It's not about revenge. It's about sight. Awareness allows us to set boundaries, to protect the vulnerable, to build systems that value empathy and integrity over image and influence. You can't stop a psychopath from being what they are. But you can stop them from ruling your world. See the mask. Name it. And never forget, it's better to be cautious and wrong than blind and prey.